That's right. For life. For life. In honor of the NWO theme music, it is the DLG takeover today. No Joey Savage, because that's the way we roll. It's Corey DLG on Nerd Thug Radio. You're listening to us on 104.5, 106.1. I call them the sister stations. You can also hear us on IRLoneStar.com, where we are streaming right now live, unless you're listening to us on a podcast, in which case we are not streaming. But if you're listening to us on a podcast, that means you probably went to nerdthugradio.com or Facebook.com/nerdthugradio, or on an iPhone you went to the Purple Podcast app and searched Nerd Thug Radio, or you came by my house and I told you how to do it, or you hit me up on Facebook, or you hit Joey up on Facebook, or Nico, or Vicky, or Zach Attack.
Or, you've ever heard of the internet.
Right, and podcasts are a thing. Joe Rogan didn't invent them. So anyway, that's what we do. And real quick, because Joey's not here, we're going to go ahead and give him his 30 seconds of fame while he talks about our friends over there at Space Cadets. This time I'm right, Nico?
Yep.
Oh yeah, Space Cadets.
Hey guys, it's the Captain Joey Savage of Nerd Thug Radio. With school wrapping up and summer fast approaching, the kids need to get out of the house and need a place to go. Space Cadets. With comic books, collectible card games, board games, role-playing games, and toys, all in a family-friendly atmosphere, what more could a person ask for? Space Cadets Gaming has the largest Pokemon League in Texas, and in various events every day and especially the weekends. Dungeons & Dragons, Family Game Night, and other various events are regularly scheduled at Space Cadets Gaming on Robinson Road in Oak Ridge. Hey guys.
The Woodlands. Oh, I didn't mean to play it twice. Whoops. My bad. Joe, you can't do twice.
Yeah. So that's enough Joey Savage for that segment. Jeez, that guy, hogging everything. I mean, he's not here. We played him. That was us. Anyway, welcome back to Nerd Thug Radio, guys. Thanks for staying with us. And you should definitely check out Space Cadets, because we do love them. We love the BMAC. Space Cadets Gaming is a fun place for us to go. We do a lot of stuff there. We're also doing the Nerd Thug Clicks Battle Royale Federation. I don't even know what we're calling the thing.
I don't know either.
But anyway, we do those.
You really should have settled on a name, I feel like, a long time
ago. I think, I want to be very clear. I feel like we did settle on a name, but as the talent, I don't go to the meetings. So, you know what's up.
That's fair. I think you guys probably did settle on a name, and then you all forgot what you settled on, so you keep resettling on a name.
Like, one person probably knows exactly what it is, but that person's not here, and that's not my problem.
And also, it's fictitious.
That's the Savage Man.
So anyway, check out Space Cadets whenever you hang out and want to do nerd stuff. There's people there. They're fun people. They're nice people. And a lot of times they have good food there, too, sometimes.
Yeah, they are super friendly. I'm going to start calling Joey Captain Baby.
Captain Baby? Baby Face.
I think Captain Baby is funnier.
Captain Baby Huey?
Because it conveys respect while also being dismissive at the same time.
Wait, why are you dismissive of babies?
Because they don't count. They can't talk. They can't walk. They rely on other people for everything. They're
useless.
Wow.
They're a drain.
I hope one's getting roasted by Zach.
Right.
Well, that sounds bad, too.
Yeah, Zach, stop roasting babies. Anyway, we're going to go on to the segment now that it's been completely derailed and Victoria pointed out cannibalism.
Yeah, that's rough.
But you're the one doing it. Don't try and pawn that off on someone else. E3 just happened.
Oh, yes.
And
my time to shine.
At this point, as you hear my voice, it's been like over a week. However, we like to give people a little bit of time to digest, and also, through the magic of time travel, we record after things happen and before you hear
Into the future.
That's right. So, E3 happened. There's some cool games. I kind of just want to talk just in general about these little games, some neat things that kind of happened. It was sort of a disappointing E3.
Oh, no, it wasn't.
No,
you were incorrect.
There wasn't the same. Usually there's like a surprise game that they announce right here at E3, and they're like, and it's coming out in 3 or 4 months. And that didn't really happen this time.
No, there wasn't like a big surprise hit, but it was by far not disappointing.
Here's the thing. It is disappointing in the sense that there's a lot of these games that they're talking about aren't going to come out for a long time. Like, they debuted some game footage of Spider-Man, which looks amazing, and then they announced the release date is 2018.
Why would they do it this year, then?
Because it'll come out before the next E3. So it's like 7 months ahead, 7 to 10 months.
But isn't that always a risk when you do something only annually?
Yeah, well, it is, but typically with these things, they time them a little bit better. But if you're doing gameplay footage that looks that clean, you're probably closer to a release date than next year, but you're still like, oh, we want to add more stuff, so we're going to take longer on it, which is fine, except it just means the stuff's going to come out way later.
Again, E3 is never like a really good place to be like, oh, these are the games they're gonna be out in a few months, because sometimes they're like, oh, we showed this game at E3, and then it doesn't come out for like 9 years.
That has happened. There have been games that have won Game of the Convention, Game of E3, E3 Game of the Year type stuff, and then those games don't even come out for multiple years later.
It sounds like the video game industry really needs to get its stuff together.
Well,
a lot of it has to do with the long development time and how
Correct.
quickly
Correct.
technology advances. Because you can creating this wonderful and beautiful world, and then the next console generation hits, and now all of a sudden all the work you've been doing on the previous engines don't work anymore.
Well, like for example,
so now you have to rebuild things from the ground up instead of having to.
And to kind of follow up on that, when the PlayStation 4 was announced and in that window where it came out, but PlayStation 3 was still getting games, a lot of those games were only for the PlayStation 3 and not both systems, and the sales probably suffered
because of it.
Of that factor, because people were spending the money to buy. Right, they were spending money to buy the new system,
or they trade in their old system.
And these people were on the tail end of the cycle of the PlayStation 3, and so they kind of missed out on that stuff. One thing in particular, I read a really interesting article about one of my favorite games that has already come out, Mass Effect.
Andromeda.
Andromeda. And they talked about basically what happened was, typically in the last 18 months of a game is polish. So by the time you get to a year and a half out from release date, you already have the plot built, you already have the game built, you already have the characters built, and you're going through and polishing, and debugging. There's tons of debugging because video games are so big and complex now. This game was supposed to have, 60 hours of story play before you even get into all the extra stuff you could do. So we talk about debugging, it's a massive thing. The problem with this game was, and it was massively panned, everyone hates it. Instead of getting at least an 85 or higher in Metascore, which the other Mass Effects did, it got something in the 70s. Because the game was just, it wasn't ready because they spent the first year and a half developing a concept and a game that they then couldn't deliver on. They got a year and a half into it, and they had built this beautiful galaxy that self-generated like No Man's Sky, where they taught the physics to the computer, and the computer built the world. But then they couldn't integrate story into the worlds that they built because it was all self-generated. So then they had trouble causing the pop-up events and causing the story to happen because you couldn't control where people went. So how do you generate the story? You would force the player to have to find the story, and that's really hard to do. So that's one of the reasons the game bombed.
Do you think that happens a lot in video games because they're so, look at all the cool stuff we can do, and they don't take a step back and say, yeah, we can do it, but does this make the most sense for the story or what we want to play?
If there's poor leadership, yes. Because that's the key.
It happens frequently, and also a lot of times development budgets and
right.
There's been some games that they'll have a team, and then mid production that whole team will get fired, and then they have to rehire a new team, and they have to either build on or literally just start over.
That's what I'm saying. The video game industry doesn't have its act together.
Well, yeah. Well, you got to think. Okay, so if a game costs, it's now the big titles do cost $20 to $25 million to create because they're banking on selling almost 1 million copies at $60 a pop. So that's how they make their money. So they're hoping, like, the big ones basically just double their money, but people are such big fans that then they buy all the ancillary things, the DLC and all that stuff. But yeah, what'll happen is, like, let's say a publisher is publishing 6 games, and that's kind of the limit of their budget. If game 3 of the 6 games that they're working on at the same time tanks, that funding can literally destroy the budget for 2 of the other games. So then they're like, do we spread the loss among all the games and make 5 subpar games? Do we cancel 2 games to save the remaining 3? You have issues come up because sometimes people overreach, and again, it's poor leadership. It's the video game industry is a lot about what you think you can do, and then when you find out you can't do it, it's kind of too late because you're pot committed at that point. You're 10 million in, you're 8 million in.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, it's complicated.
It's a weird way to do business and to have a business model, right? I'm going to make a game that's going to be brand new, and I'm going to budget to make 5 iterations of this game. But if the first one fails, I'm still locked in for these other 4 iterations.
Well, essentially, so Mass Effect is supposed to launch a massive franchise. The first 3 was a trilogy. This was going to be a second trilogy in a brand new galaxy. They created new worlds, new aliens, and new people, and new places. And the first game did so bad that they basically put the whole project on hold.
That's what I'm saying.
But also that is again a huge part of like the difference between, because there's video game publishers and then video game developers, because they're 2 separate industries.
Right.
And
it's like Marvel Comics and then people who make comics, but instead there's no one who Marvel Comics doesn't directly hire comic book creators almost anymore. So like EA Sports will literally sub the whole thing to a developer, but they're still the publisher.
Right. So they'll publish. So a lot of issues come from publishing dates, and they're like, we need this game published by September, and those deadlines sometimes, with the fiasco that was Andromeda, what had happened was those months of polish and development time that could have made the game great because, I mean, a patch was released not but 3 months later that made the game significantly better. Because
but at that point, it's too late. All momentum is
exactly.
dead.
So what was good about E3, Nico? Because clearly the way video games do business wasn't it.
Nintendo. Everything Nintendo did was flawless. They had tons of games that were just wildly interesting. Mario Odyssey is like set out to be like one of the best platformers to ever exist.
Is that the one where he's in like a city?
No. So that game already happened.
Oh.
The city game happened last console, right?
There's I think there's one section in the city, but like there's like a whole section where he goes through like a huge dinosaur land, and like the whole bit is that he can throw his hat, and then Mario like transfers his like conscience to that thing, so you can so he throws his hat onto a T-Rex, and now you're the T-Rex.
Right.
Like it's the next level of good.
Right. So then you control. I think you control Mario and the thing your hat is on at the same time.
But wait, is it still 360 in first person?
It's not first person, but it's like it's like Mario 64.
Yeah. Hard pass.
So they released a lot of cool things. I'll kind of sum up some games I think are going to matter. One of them was a little indie game called King's Way. It looks like an old 90s Windows desktop, and you play the whole game on this little 8-bit desktop-looking design. And so it's got, like, the design elements have worked completely through the game. There's not even music unless you open an old Winamp app to play music. Like, the design generates the game kind of in that one. I think that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
PlayStation 4 released a lot of cool stuff. Strange Brigade, 4-player multiplayer, but you're in like this Egyptian era. It's a time era that people don't usually touch on, and you're kind of looking for rich artifacts. The four of you are working together. Anthem is going to be BioWare's competition to Destiny.
Oh, basically, it looks way better.
It looks way better. It's essentially customizable Iron Man armors. Like everyone is Tony Stark.
Yeah.
In like a post-apocalyptic futuristic world.
Different types.
Right. Even you can be Tony Stark. Exactly.
I'm already Tony Stark.
So anyway, there was a game called A Way Out, which was cool. The entire thing is continuous 2-player on PlayStation 4, side by side. You have to have a second person to play the game, and literally the whole game is a prison break. And the two of you can go completely different ways.
But you both have to be involved.
Right. You both are trying to work together to break out of prison.
That's from a studio they did another game called Tale of Two Brothers, which is basically the same thing. You either took 2 players, or literally you controlled either brother with 2 of the different analog sticks.
Right.
I do like the idea of video games that impose some weird outside of the game restriction or rule around gameplay. It's one of the reasons I like the Wii, right?
Right.
Because there was something very clear you had to do outside of the game.
Right.
So they announced some other stuff. Star Wars Battlefront was the most watched video game trailer in the entire history of the internet. Battlefront 2 comes out in November. This trailer is a big deal. The game's going to be a big deal. They released a trailer for something called Beyond Good and Evil 2. Beyond Good and Evil is a game that's about 10 years old. This trailer, while it's in the same universe, talking animals, cool futuristic weapons, cursing, and looks like an adult grown-up Zootopia, no one has any idea what the game's going to be like. No one. The trailer's 5 minutes of really cool. You have no idea what the game's going to be like. Also, in the VR world, they created a game called Mouse, and you are a person in a mouse's world, and you are helping the mouse accomplish its mission. And like because you're in the VR, like it looks and talks to you and interacts with you.
Like a real mouse, not an anthropomorphized one?
It has like humanistic qualities, like it gestures and bows to you to thank you and things like that.
But it's not like a talking mouse.
Right, no, it's not a talking mouse. Yeah, so like you and it work together to solve puzzles.
I may have to dip my toes back into video games.
Yeah, so there's some cool stuff coming up. We went way over on time. We're going to cut time. You know where we're going to cut it, Nico? Your segment.
Wow.
Roasted. Yeah.
Roasted.
Today's Nico segment is going to be like 5 minutes. Anyway, Nerd Thug Radio, #talking nerdy to you.